Hi, I'm Reverend Ron, and this is the Rooted Reflection for Wednesday, March the 3rd. The text in the devotional is a very familiar one. As a matter of fact, if you were in church on Sunday, you heard this text read beautifully and you heard it interpreted beautifully in Reverend Chris's sermon. She talked about the things that we are called to reconsider in our lives and how Jesus calls Nicodemus to reconsider his whole approach to God and his whole approach to faith. And it's that famous passage in John 3, 1 through 17 that also includes the words about how much God loves the world and how God will never give up on this world and sends Jesus as the sign of that love. But one of the things I've always loved about this passage, and one of the things that I think is most difficult about this passage, is this back and forth between Jesus and Nicodemus. So Nicodemus is trying to live out his faith earnestly. And on a very intentional level, he wants to know what he needs to do and how to follow the rules and all of those things. And Jesus, I think, is inviting him into a freer, more scary kind of faith. It's not life just lived by rules, but it's life lived in the Spirit. If you want to follow God, if you want to be a servant of God, he says you have to be born anothen. You have to be born from above again and again and again. It's this openness to God. It's this continual and perpetual willingness to learn and to grow and to own your own flaws and also to recommit to deeper ways of living all the time. The image that Jesus uses is beyond this born again or born anew image that Nicodemus seems to get caught up on. When he's trying to explain what that really looks like, he uses these words from the verse 7, which I find so powerful and also a little bit scary, depending on your orientation. Do not be astonished that I said to you, you must be born from above, Jesus says. The wind blows where it chooses, and you hear the sound of it, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. You see, the scary part of what Jesus is asking Nicodemus to do, and asking us to do really, is to give up control. When you live by the Spirit, you have to be willing to go where that wind draws you, pushes you, nudges you, sometimes uproots you, so that you live more faithfully in love with God and love with your neighbor. And friends, faith is never about us being in control. It is always about us yielding that control and putting our trust in God. That is a scary way to live, yes, sometimes for those of us who have trouble letting go. But it is also a freeing way to live because it says that our life is in the Spirit. And the same Spirit that's going to nudge and push and draw and cajole us to love more deeply is a Spirit that will empower us to go in these new directions and these new places. Friends, this Lenten season, this time in the desert, this time of opening yourself up to God, I hope that you'll be willing to risk, like Nicodemus ultimately was, I believe, to yielding your life to the Spirit, to trusting God's breath, God's wind, that the Spirit will lead us where we need to go and where we will really find life. Thanks be to God.